This is just Kimberly. Here, we honor the pivots of life as moments of learning and transformation. I'm Kimberly, and together we'll explore the practice of cultivating clarity, resilience, and grace with every step forward. This is your invitation to slow down, listen in, and find meaning in the unexpected. Welcome to the Just Kimberly Show. Together, we pivot with grace. Today, we're sharing space with my dear friend, Cassandra, and we'll kick it off. Good morning, Cassandra.
Good morning, Kimberly. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
I'm
you.
so excited to be here.
Excited to have you. Let's have you start with a brief intro to your background, your work in coaching, your work in speaking, anything you'd like to tell us.
Okay, perfect. I've spent the last 33 years as an entrepreneur. So I've built a lot of things. But my main thing was I was a professional musician, vocalist, and voice coach. And I'll lean into the voice coaching because that's what really applies for what we're going to talk about today. So I spent 33 years coaching people in the studio, helping them learn to own their voice. And whether it was a musician, whether it was a speaker, a writer, musical theater performer, I've clocked thousands of hours behind those doors, tapping into people's confidence issues, imposter syndrome, helping them overcome a lot of those things, and then getting to the point where they can actually take it out in the world. And now I do that for people outside of the music world. So that has been my big pivot, pivoting with grace in the last few years. And then also using that as a keynote speaker and motivational speaker to go in and have conversations about your voice, your presence, your impact, building that confidence. And then also, what is it that you want to bring to the world and helping people overcome anything that might be getting in the way of them doing that. So I do that as a speaker, and I also do it as a coach and a facilitator.
Thank you for that. What brought you to that work originally, would you say?
This particular work, or originally as a voice coach?
Originally as a voice coach.
Honestly, I hadn't planned on doing that, to be honest. I mean, I came out of college with a degree in music. I started out as an elementary music teacher. I had a couple students, so I had maybe 4 or 5 people that came to me after I graduated that were like, could you give me lessons? And that was not on my radar at all. And so I was like, sure. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I do. I had a degree in it, so I figured I'll try. And when I got really sick my first year teaching, and after that year, it took a toll on my voice. And I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't lose my ability to sing, really. So I decided not to go back into the public schools after my first year. I had my brother, who was a business owner. Him and I had a long conversation. And he said, what could you do if you want to start a business? And I said, well, the only thing I'm doing really is I'm teaching voice lessons, which I had never planned on doing. And he's like, well, what if we could figure out a way for you to do that? Now, this was 1994, maybe. It's been a long time. So he helped me a lot. And I ended up having a friend who was at a school. He was the director at a school, music director, who offered me the opportunity to come in and teach out of one of his classrooms. And within 2 weeks, I had built a studio of 42 students.
Would you say that was a pivotal moment for you?
It was a huge pivotal moment for me because it did several things. One, it gave me a lot more freedom over my schedule.
How about courage? Did it give you courage in a new way?
It did. I actually felt really empowered to sort of craft my own life. And that was huge for me because my background was always very insecure, and I didn't always trust myself, and I worked really, really hard on my confidence. And I had a lot of coaches who helped me throughout my career. But being able to start a business and actually see it succeed and realize that I had some control over my destiny that way, that if I could do that, I could start and build anything.
I love that.
And so that was kind of the start of it. And I realized then that, well, while I can be very flexible with my schedule now, It allowed me to go out and do music stuff and build other things, and it created that stability that I needed.
So how does that change that part of your story change you stepping into the speaking world now? Because that's very different. And I follow you and you have done some amazing work. I mean, just in the last 2 weeks, every time I jump on social media to see like the new audience and passion that you are impacting within this world, what is it like stepping into the speaking world now versus then? I mean, very different. Obviously, you're bringing so much experience. I've watched you grow in the short time that we've met each other, and you met me at a very pivotal time of my life where I was in this deep transformation. But what is it like for you stepping into the speaking world now?
It's a bit of a learning curve just on the business side of it.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a different world than being in the music industry. However, I will say I absolutely love it. And that has come as a surprise to me, I guess, in the beginning, because I always wanted to do it. I like to talk, and when I was teaching or facilitating a workshop or being in front of a group, I could feel myself just like energize and light up and be like, this is, if I could just do this for a living. And when I made the pivot after COVID and made the decision to shift my business, it was originally going to be focused on coaching. And that was my focus, and I still do it. But as I moved forward, I had a lot of my own network, my already existing network, who were like, well, I understand that you're doing this leadership stuff now. I understand that you're doing the, self-awareness and the voice stuff. And can you come speak to our group? Can you come do this keynote? Can you come talk about, confidence to our women's group? And all of a sudden I didn't, and I tell people it's so weird because I do feel like I'm being led because people just kept asking me. And I think I didn't expect that. I expected it to be kind of a hard sell coming out of, oh, she's the music lady to, being, oh, now she's a keynote speaker. And it has been a much easier transition than I really ever thought it would be.
I would agree with that because I was very drawn to you. I didn't know you from any network, and I was part of a year-long leadership development in home county. And I remember you came to speak to one of our earlier seminars, and it was such an inspiring talk. And I watched as many leaders do, I watched as you entered the room well before it was your time. Just as today, you came in, you're one with your space, you're picking up, you're feeling that energy, you're reading your audience and or space with that energy. And it was so beautiful to watch you present. And we had a break, and I remember I went to the restroom, got a drink of water, and I was like so moved to you that I went up and I think I like touched your arm. When I can be a hugger, right? But I touched, and I was just like, you moved me so much. And at that point, you were still doing a lot of coaching, and I was in between, I think, my rebirth of like what I was doing in a career, and it stuck with me. And it wasn't like a week or a day after. I mean, it was about a month after. And I was like, I have to call this woman up. I have to see, would she take me on as a client as well? And that's the beginning of this lovely story and this kinship and sisterhood that we have entered together because as I do with people that are close with me, we stand in front of each other and cheer each other on. We walk alongside each other, just so you're never walking alone and you're always there. If I was to need a breath or a break, same as I would be for you in the sense of like, you got this, girl, get back in there, you can do it, that impact. And so I watched as you're coaching leadership, but coaching into this full leadership practice, but now being in these very large audiences and watching that develop. And it's so inspirational. That's part of why I have you here today. I think just Kimberly and the impetus of these pivots is helping inspire other people to lean in, to be vulnerable, to be the change, to make the change. And that is so much of who you are. So, we've talked about preparing a little bit for today, but how and where do you think you found grace in the unexpected? Because it's about navigating the unexpected. And so I know we've talked about it a couple of times, but what resonates with you most that you'd want our audience to know about that?
I think if I go back to, and we all have our stories, through COVID, right? when I came out of the pandemic, and it was a very difficult time for all of us, but extremely difficult for my family, extremely difficult for my music business at the time. And I came out of that pretty defeated, to be honest. I felt completely at a loss. I also, jumped straight into menopause and all the things, and so that affects you in another way that I'm sure you could talk about on another show. But
Sure.
I was really lost, to be honest, and I had worked really, really hard to build a whole bunch of things right before COVID hit that got canceled, and so I had a lot of shows, an arts organization with the Woodstock Community Choir that I was trying to keep afloat. My sister got very ill,
Mm.
and there were so many things that we were trying to navigate through that time that figuring out how to even keep my own business in the music world alive, almost, it just became a non-thing. Like, I just stopped and did the best I could.
Mhm.
But coming out of it, I felt very defeated. I felt very lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to continue in music. I didn't know, because I just felt so beat up by the fact that that industry in particular was just pummeled,
Mhm.
during that time. And it was a long and slow road back. But that was when I started to kind of rethink what I was doing. And I'd been doing a lot of similar things for many, many years. And I wanted to make a different kind of an impact, I guess the same impact, but in a different way. And the more I sat with myself and sort of thought about that, that's when the coaching began. But to your point of talking about that particular session that I came in and spoke at, that you were at,
Mhm.
that day I was so nervous, and you probably wouldn't have known it.
No, not at all.
But it was one of the first maybe 3 or 4 that I had done in this new
Medium, if you
endeavor.
will.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like I was like, okay, and again, people that I knew uh, embraced that part of me.
Mhm.
And once I started to do that, I was like, okay, there might be a path forward for me. Um, but I thought too that by doing that, like somehow I had to let go of, and this is the really important thing I want to share. I had to let go of the musical side of myself a bit, to sort of cut myself in half
Mm.
and have this be music over here, but this is Cassandra, the leadership coach, and the speaker and the keynote, and all that.
Yeah.
And what I realized was my differentiator, my secret sauce lived in me being a professional artist, performer, musician,
Mhm.
vocal coach. So I shifted, and that pivot was really within the last year. And that was the biggest one for me to go, okay, I don't want to let go of this other version of myself. And for some reason, I felt like I had to.
Mhm.
Maybe it was because I felt like I had to be more corporate or, whatever. And I work with a really good psychologist.
Mhm.
And she was like, Cassandra, why would you do that? Why would you let go of an entire piece of yourself because you think you have to be this over here?
Mhm.
And that was just something that was cycling in my own head. It wasn't anything that was true, that people weren't going to take me seriously if I was still doing the music part of things.
Mhm.
That was just something that I kind of built up in my mind as a thing. But what ended up happening was I started incorporating music, which I did in that session.
You did. I'm not a great singer, but I did
And
sing with her.
that over the course of that next year was where my light bulbs started to go off. I was like, okay, I don't have to let go of that part of myself. I can integrate all of it.
Mhm.
And once I did that, once I realized that I could do that, everything seemed to go much better.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And 2 things resonate with me: authenticity, resilience. And both of those, how those work together with you in that situation, in that part of your evolution. Do you want to expound on either resilience or authenticity? You and I have had many conversations about authenticity and me being
Yeah.
vulnerable with you, and how at my core that has always remained very, very important. That was a piece that I've connected with you on, and I think that's some of the journey of our work that we have. But what piece about resilience in that or authenticity do you want to share with the audience?
I think they kind of go hand in hand in this particular scenario, just because I wasn't being authentic because I was trying to be something that I thought I needed to be in order to move into this other chapter of my career
Mhm.
and life. And so I was putting on all kinds of filters that I thought, okay, I have to do this way. And,
Yes.
I have to have my language a certain way. And I have to
Yeah.
and I never stopped dressing the way I dress. So that's cool. Yeah, I'm going to be in jeans, whether you want me in jeans or not. But that was, I think the resilient side of that was that I continued, I was beating myself up, and then I was building myself up, and then I was beating myself up, and I was
We could
building
be like
myself
the
up.
worst voice or the best voice.
Right. And I was like, what is wrong with you? You know how to build a business. You know how to do this. Why can't you do this? And so part of it was I had lost my own voice. I lost my own creative voice. And in trying to do something that I thought was what it was supposed to look like, which
Forcing
which I think a lot of women do, a lot of people do.
Mhm.
We think we have to show up in a certain way. And my entire career, my entire business for the last 30 plus years has been about helping people find their voice, stand in their power, be able to step into who they are
100%.
in the most true, real, authentic way.
100%.
And I was not walking that talk at that time. And I didn't realize I wasn't, because I had, as I said before, been so defeated that I was kind of grasping, and I was a little bit desperate, and I was a little bit just trying to find my way forward.
Mhm.
And so it took me a little time, honestly, to come to the topics I really wanted to speak on, and the topics that I really wanted to share with the world.
Mhm.
And through a lot of that journey, I found those.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So when the stage lights come on, what message do you most hope to bring into that room? And it might be different, your messaging a little bit, but there's a core Cassandra message. I know it. I've seen it. I see it in multiple mediums for you. What message do you hope to bestow upon your audience?
That your voice matters, that your impact matters, that your presence matters, that community matters, and in leadership, how we show up matters.
Mm.
And I
Love it.
had seen that in my career. I had seen the effects of somebody walking in the room and taking the whole room down with them.
Mhm.
Or situations in my own career where I was leading an event or leading something, and I had one particular story. There was a woman, I was running an event, setting up for this thing, and she had come to all of them. And I was trying to get everything set up, and apparently she had said hi to me about 4 times. And I would say it's probably about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like in this zone of like, I got to get this done. I got to get this set up,
Sure.
And she comes up to me after things had kind of calmed down, and she's like, "Are you upset with me?" And I looked at her and I said, "No, why would I be upset with you?" And she said, "Well, I said hello to you like 4 times and you didn't even acknowledge that I was there."
Mhm.
And even though that might have seemed like this one thing, right? This one little moment, it changed how I saw myself, because I realized, and over the course of my career, I realized that more and more and more and more, that people were looking to me for leadership.
Mhm.
People were looking to me for guidance. People were looking to me for confidence. People were looking to me for, just to be seen. And I had to really take a look at myself and go, with great power, comes the responsibility of that.
Absolutely.
And after I had that conversation, after I talked to her, I went home and I thought, I have to really be much more present
Mhm.
in the room, not just focused on the thing I'm trying to get done,
Mhm.
or the thing I'm, there, because we can get very narrow-minded and we're trying to do the thing. And we forget that there's all kinds of people,
Mhm.
and that we have an impact on those people, and we can make or break their day.
Mhm. You feel like you're better at it now?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And you have such a valuable message. So You shared the what you would want folks to get. What encouragement would you give them in a few words?
We live in a culture that feels a lot like we're told constantly how we should look, how we should be, how we should speak, how we should be perceived to be acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And my message is that you are beautiful the way that you are.
Mm-hmm.
And allow yourself to have the journey of finding your own voice,
Mm-hmm.
finding where you can stand in your own power, stand in yourself, be in a room, be in a meeting, be on a date, whatever it is you're doing, right? And feel authentically comfortable in your skin.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that was a very hard one for me
Mm-hmm.
for many years because I struggled with that early on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggled a lot with confidence. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want people to see me. I didn't want to do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had to be perfect in order to even do anything. And the truth is you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. And you can have impact by just, and my husband always says, I go, why do you love me? He's like, because you're you. There's no other reason.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
there's no other reason. So you can have impact. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And the other piece of it is we don't ask for help enough. And I think that my background in the music world gave me tools, and I just talked about this in a keynote I did, that most people don't get. I got vocal training. I got acting training. I got performance coaching. I got all the things that helped me get over myself in so many ways and be able to focus on why I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm there to help people. I'm there to be of service. I'm there to elevate. I'm there to build confidence and, help people step into their own voice and presence. And I had the benefit of that in my career, plus thousands of hours of stage time, which helps a lot. But I think that that's the piece that I think a lot of people don't ask for help. They don't realize that there's help out there. And so many clients that I've had that step into public speaking were thrust into it and never had any training. And they were just like, okay, we'll do a presentation.
Very true. Very true. I could
they're
say
like,
the same for
right. And they're like, I don't know what to do. So
Yeah.
that's, so that's one of the things I do coach a lot now is helping people have the impact they want to have.
That's a lot of different encouragement that you gave. I asked for one. I think we got 5. That's
Well,
so nice.
I'm a
Yes.
motivational speaker.
You
So
are
what do you want, Kimberly?
There are a lot of pieces about that. It's really good.
One is just own your voice.
Yeah. Own your voice. I would
Own
say
your
that.
voice.
Yes. And thank you for coming forward to share your story and to share your bits of wisdom, because I think telling your story helps others to find themselves and to either hold on to evolve their voice or to find their voice. And I think that is so important and so important in these times. So I thank you for that. As we close up today, what call to action would you put on the table for our listeners?
For them to move
call to
forward in their
action.
lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, just seek out resources.
Great.
Be there for each other.
Great.
Yeah.
I love that.
You talked a little bit about resilience, and I will say this. My life has had a lot of times where I got kind of kicked down. And it would seem like I would build up and then I get kicked down, and then I would build up and then I'd get kicked down, and there would be loss and there would be transitions and there would be just a lot of things that would happen. But the thing that was always the through line for me was I wanted to make a difference. And that's what kept me going all the time. Like it was inherently in my soul that I'm going to get up because I know that I have work to do in the world that lights me up and helps other people. So if you have something like that in you, you can do it. You can do it.
I believe that. believe that with every fiber. Thank you for helping us understand how to transcend with grace through our pivots, and thank you for sharing so many of your pivot points today. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you as my dear friend on today. Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you for having me. And Kimberly is amazing, and I can't wait to see how many more of these podcasts you do and the lives that you change and the beautiful people that you bring into the light.
Thank you. Until next time, we're just Kimberly.